horoscopes and tarot cards. K-Dogs Movie Review. Tarot is directed by Spencer Cohen and Anna Halberg and stars Avantika, Jacob Batalon, and Olwen Fure. When a group of friends recklessly violates the sacred rule of tarot readings, they unknowingly unleash an unspeakable evil trapped within the cursed cards. One by one, they come face to face with fate and end up in a race against death. When I originally heard about this movie, I really wasn't expecting much. It looked like another generic PG-13, low-grade, trashy horror movie. So I kind of went into it thinking I'd rip on this movie, and especially after seeing the Rotten Tomatoes score, which when I saw this movie, it was about 17%. I was hoping to maybe get, just one good scare out of it, or a funny scene, or just something to hold on to. But I gotta say, I think I kind of love this movie. Okay, look, objectively speaking, this isn't that great of a horror movie. It's not going to leave you with this overwhelming sense of dread. It doesn't dive into its characters all that much. And overall, it's not going to leave an impact on you. Having said that, I had a good time with this. Something I often talk about on this channel is knowing what your movie is, knowing its audience, and understanding what film you're trying to make. And this movie, I feel it understands this. It's a low-grade, easy-to-watch horror movie. I think this is a great intro horror film for a lot of people who aren't really used to the genre. If I had seen this when I was 15, I think I would have loved this movie. It's a great movie for when you're at a sleepover or Netflix and chilling or just having something on in the background while you do chores, because this movie is really easy to watch. The characters are, you don't hate them, but they're likable enough so that you can get through it. The pacing of this movie is pretty good. It only sits at about 90 minutes. I never found myself really bored during this movie. The scares aren't great, but they're not bad either. They're pretty watchable. The creature designs are cool. You have a group of college students who are renting this Airbnb. They read some tarot cards. Horror ensues. We pretty much understand what exactly is going to happen for the rest of the movie. This is a movie where you could jump in and out of it and still have a sense of what's going on. The character interactions are lighthearted. We don't dive too much into character backstories, a little bit with one character, but it's pretty surface level. The actor who plays Peter Parker's friend in the MCU movies, he kind of rides a line between being funny and annoying. So anyway, after they get their tarot cards read, not to spoil anything, we pretty much have a horror scene, lighthearted college kid stuff, a horror scene, lighthearted college kid stuff. And it just repeats itself until the movie ends. We're even given the classic tropes of the Googled research scene or the older exposition character, but it's all kind of done in a fun way. It's not really taking itself too seriously. When the exposition character is giving their exposition dump, it is done in a kind of overacted, hammy way, and so you don't really find yourself in this sense of dread throughout the whole movie. So I never really found myself critiquing it. I was laughing a lot, maybe even unintentionally sometimes, but the movie is even self-referential with how goofy it is. No real spoilers here, but there is a moment where a character says, "Why don't we go to our parents?" And everyone stares at this person and says, "What are you, 12?" It's very much an intro to horror movie. Again, no spoilers, but the movie even ends on a kind of comedic note. It's just a decent 90 minutes of fun. In any other movie, I think I would have had a horrible theater experience. My audience was straight up having conversations. We were laughing loudly at certain moments, screaming things at the screen. But that's kind of what this movie feels like it's supposed to be. It doesn't play itself as a straight up comedy, but there are a lot of jokes in this movie and just a lot of lighthearted interactions followed by horror. But it's fun horror. It's kind of, if you heard the phrase popcorn horror, that's what this feels like. And another thing I liked about this movie, everyone gets their tarot cards read, and each of these tarot cards are a different monster. Some of the creature designs are actually pretty cool. There's one or two really creative ones which I enjoyed. A few times we get just monsters screaming at the screen, kind of like the It movies, which is can be kind of annoying, but it doesn't do it too much. Again, I think what's really important about any movie is knowing what you're getting into. I can't sit here and nitpick this movie because it feels like the movie understands exactly what it is. It's not looking to be nitpicked. It knows that it has stupid character moments, cheap scares, and a very basic story. I mean, you could really have a field day with picking apart this movie. There are a lot of holes and just stupid stuff. The two things that to me were pretty funny was first the lack of extras in this movie. This movie is set in Boston, and I barely saw anybody in the streets. There was one scene where I saw a couple people walking in the background. There's a whole scene that is dedicated to a character riding the subway, and there's just nobody around at all at a major station in the city. Also, their emotional reactions to things, I think is pretty hilarious. Best friends are dying at a rapid rate in this movie, and our main characters don't really seem too emotionally scarred by it at all. They just sort of move on to the next scene. We maybe have one or two moments where characters are crying, but even the movie is like, nope, we got to keep up the pace. We got to keep this going. Move on to the next scene. And I loved it. But I will say, I actually did enjoy some of the visuals for this movie. There were hints of an actual scary movie within this. So again, I think this really could be a good horror for people who are just stepping into the genre. So overall, if you know what you're getting into, then I would definitely recommend this. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it at a full price movie ticket because tickets are insane these days. But if you go on a Bargain Tuesday or you eventually wait to watch it on streaming service, then I think it's totally worth it. I don't think I'll necessarily want to see it again, but for 90 minutes of my life, I was entertained. And so I'm not going to sit here and rip a movie for that. I think I'm just honestly very surprised with how much I had a good time with this. I was expecting something kind of similar to Imaginary, which I think the main difference between this movie and that one is that one really took itself too seriously. And so I found myself either bored or really nitpicking certain things. This movie doesn't. This movie has so many lighthearted moments in between the kind of cheap horror scenes. I just love when a movie understands itself. Let me know what you guys thought of this movie in the comments below. What was the first movie or TV series that got you into horror? For me, it was definitely Goosebumps. Till next time.